welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at my Shadow Drip Ninetales here, which I actually got really good IVs for, which I really like. So I kinda want to try this Pokemon out, and we're going to have a very strong team here for the, generally Great League. Those battles were recorded before the Catch Cup was live, so like just for the normal Great League last time around it was live. So still, like Great League and Catch Cup is the same meta basically, just depending on what Pokemon you have built. So like in my opinion, it does not really matter too much. So you're going to be able to at least take a look at some very cool teams here. For example, this Shadow Kanto Ninetales team. There are more teams coming up as well, most likely that I did already before the Catch Cup, just because it's just a little bit easier to do those teams where I don't have to build something new. But I still kind of want to do some Catch Cup content as well, which I'm most likely going to do through live streams. So definitely stay tuned for this. Most likely going to happen here on YouTube as well over this week coming up. So stay tuned for this. I'm kind of excited for that one. But here we're going to now take a look at this team. This is a team that you can also try then as soon as basically the normal Great League comes back for the final week of the season. At least this is going to happen. Or of course if you have those Pokemon built, but this team is really, really strong. Let's take a look at the second team here, or like second game here. We're going to encounter the Deoxys in the lead, and we're going to see a Vigoroth coming in. So that's kind of funny, because we also have our Vigoroth in the back. So we're going to be able to swap out now into our own Vigoroth eventually. Okay, maybe not immediately. We're going to stay in first and let them go for a charge move, and now swap out into my Vigoroth. I still should be able to realign here, I would imagine. I can let one move go through, but I decided to shoot up the first one. Honestly, like, I don't even know what's really happening here anymore. So we're going to now be able to just go for the Body Slam, do some decent damage, and we can see that we can just go for the full farm down here, I would say, as the Body Slam is coming through. We're going to be able to now realign our Pokemon. They're most likely coming back into their Deoxys defense, and we can still reach the Body Slam. And Vigoroth is such an underrated Pokemon in the current Great League meta in general. So like, if you haven't not built one, like a decent one, definitely try to build one for also the Catch Cup. I had actually, I think, a 0-14-15 laying around, which is not perfect or whatever, but I could have built this one. But of course, if I have already one other one built, I'm not going to do another one there. So here we're going to now see the obstacle going for the Night Slash. It's still going to be a close battle, but maybe Ninetales can still push through with the Weather Ball. But let's see here, we're going to try to have, like, we have to try to farm them all the way down here now with Ember. Let's see if this is going to work out well for us. Ember is going to be able to farm them all the way down. We can go still for a Scorching Sands against the opponent. It's still going to be a close matchup though. The Deoxys is still standing tall there, but we can still go for a Friendly Plant. Is this enough to knock them out? It's barely not, and we can move on into the next game. Let's see here, we're going to encounter another Superior lead. So we're going to have a Mirror lead here, and I kind of want to swap out eventually here, swap out onto the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace does basically no damage against me. The opponent decides to stay in a little bit here as well. And they're mostly going to go for a Frenzy Plant later on as well, but I can just go for the Body Slam spam. I still should be able to get a shield advantage maybe here again. Let's see. No, they can still go for a charge move, though they're going to get a shield advantage here. But I can knock them out afterwards if I want to, but they decide to swap out into their Sableye. Sableye is coming through here, going to do some decent damage against me, most likely with a Foul Play. Foul Play going to knock us out here, and I'm going to decide to let this move go. Actually, I'm going to shield this move up for whatever reason. I honestly don't know. Again, like, those battles were, I think, like 2 weeks ago now, so it's a little bit difficult for me to still remember those games, but interesting play by me, I would say, as I also went for the Aerial Ace before I even reached the Frenzy Plant, which I shouldn't have done, but I can still knock out the opponent here. We're still going to have some charge moves stored, at least on our Vigoroth, and they decide to go back into their Superior. They can knock me out before I can go for my own charge move, but I can farm them down with my Ninetales next. Oh, I actually can still go for another charge move here. So I still have 3 Pokemon theoretically. No, I have 2 Pokemon, and they're going to have a Haunter in the back, Shadow Haunter. They're going to go for a charge move here, which is going to be the Shadow Punch most likely, and it does not knock me out. They can stay in and farm them all the way down, and so this is going to be a good game, as our Vigoroth can just go for 2 charge moves here, and that's going to be all it takes. Moving on, great lead for us. Next game, we're going to have Greninja here, as the opponent decides to swap out into a Gligar. Gligar can be a little bit tricky, but you can still deal with this, especially if they're going to let this Frenzy Plant go through, as I can now swap out into my own Vigoroth, and Vigoroth can just take those Aerial Aces pretty easily, and we don't even have to shield anything or whatever, and I can realign, which is really important for this matchup anyway, because Greninja is going to be a little bit tricky for our Ninetales in the back. We're mostly going to see the third Pokemon I wanted to say, but no, they're actually going to swap out into the Greninja again. I can use a shield here as well. They're gonna go for the Night Sash and they can go for another Body Slam, which is going to do some decent damage if it connects, but of course they're going to use a shield here. But I'm gonna get them low enough that I should be able to Frenzy Plant them down, or not Frenzy Plant, Wine Rip them down, as I actually got the boost there and they're gonna be the Clodsire in the back. I still have the Scorching Sand for this Pokemon, but it's going to be a tough game as they're gonna go for a Sludge Bomb bait. Do they actually run Earthquake or do they not? I'm gonna go for the Weather Ball first, and honestly I make a little bit of a mistake for this matchup here. I should have just went for 2 Weather Balls straight. I didn't really count the energy of the opponent, and we will see the Earthquake coming through, connecting here against our Ninetales, and so sadly our Superior is not going to have the greatest time against the opponent's Pokemon here. But if I just went for a Weather Ball, they would have been in range even for an Aerial Ace most likely, and I would have been easily able to win this game, so that's unfortunate. Easily would have been able to win this if I played it better. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to encounter Kaiwei in the lead. Again, like a lot of Pokemon that we encounter here are also the Pokemon that you're going to see the entire time in the Catch Cup. Like the only Pokemon that currently is not really available, if we would see it, would be something like a Registeel or like a Cresselia. But that's basically it, and yeah, basically everything else people can build right now, people are going to have right now, so you're going to be able to still go for a Weather Ball against the opponent Sableye. They're going to go for their own charge move, but I should be able to survive it, and so we can realign here, which is amazing for me. The opponent is going to go into their Calming, of course. Again, I cannot go for a charge move, but I can at least realign my Superior here. I'm going to wait out the Switch Clock, because I think we are a little bit unaligned or something, but we will see here that I can just go for a Frenzy Plant, I want to say, but no, they decided to swap out into their Venusaur. And this team is actually fairly decent against Venusaur. We have Aerial Ace here, we had our Ninetales in the back, we're also going to have our Vigoroth, which still does neutral damage with Body Slam, and I decided to try to still go to another charge move here. I'm going to use a shield as well. It's going to be a Sludge Bomb, which is kind of nice for me, and I can just go for the Aerial Ace in order to try to knock them out. And this is not going to get enough damage done, but I just need a few more fast moves here, and I can decide now to swap out into my Vigoroth as well, which does neutral damage with Counter, which really chunks away from the health of the opponent's Carbink. And so I can just go for the Bulldoze here. This Bulldoze is going to do some decent damage, and this is going to be a very easy game for me, because I'm still forced to go for another charge move. I can still reach another charge move with my Superior as well. There should be kind of energy dry at this point, and I can just go for an Aerial Ace. And I think this was a CMP tie, so it might have been a little bit closer than I expected, but it's still going to be fine. Let's move on to the next opponent. We're going to encounter Lickitung in the lead. This is also something that was spawning during the season as well, so definitely something that people are going to have. I can go ahead and go for a charge move here with the Frenzy Plant. Gonna get shielded, and I can swap on into my Vigoroth, which is going to be able to take those Body Slams fairly easily, and we will see a swap out into the Medicham. That's kind of how you want to play this team as well. You kind of want to get out the Medicham, but I mean, it's not really that important. Like, your lead is going to be better against Medicham than the closer of Ninetales, but both of them are kind of neutral. Yeah, we can still do some decent damage with our Vigoroth. It's kind of unfortunate that Medicham can fully farm down the Vigoroth without even having to throw anything or shield anything, but at least we can shield up the Psychic here. I can go for the full farm down, and so they don't even get to another move as they going to go back into their Lickitung. I'm forced to let this, actually going to shield this move up, never mind. And I'm going to go for the Weather Ball, trying to, bait a potential overheat, which we don't have on this Pokemon, but the opponent doesn't know. And so we're going to try to go for another charge move, but the opponent can still go for their own Body Slam. Not going to knock me out. I go up to 2 Weather Balls and going to keep them for the last matchup here. And sadly, it's going to be the Alolan Sandsash in the back here, which is really unfortunate. Just bad alignment for us. Honestly, like, the backline was just a little bit too tough to deal with, because, we had no chance of realigning our Pokemon, and then they just were able to hard wall us anyway, so it does not really matter. I can still try my best, I can still try to go for a Weather Ball, but I somehow lose CMP against an Alolan Sandslash, which I didn't know what would be happening, but good game there. Let's move on to the next game. We're going to encounter Talonflame. There was a team as well that I did, which was very similar to this one, where we had Talonflame in the lead, and was a really good team, and I know actually that some people got Legend with it as well, so I expect that this might be the same team, which had also, I think, the Vigoroth as a Say Swap and the Superior in the back. But let's see, it's going to be a Lantern in the back, and so we can still go for the super effective Bulldoze here. We were able to get the shield from the opponent, and we're also going to be able to do some nice damage here, as I can let this move go through. I don't really care too much about my Vigoroth at this point. And yes, Talonflame is a little bit of a tricky Pokemon to deal with for this team, as well as Charizard would be. But we can still kind of deal with it here in this case because they can go for a surf, but I can go for a full farm down. And now I have a ton of energy stored, and I can just go for the aerial ace spam. We are a grass type, but we don't really care too much anyway, so we can just go ahead and go for another aerial ace. And I'm going to stay in as well and try to catch now the flame charge from the opponent. Let's see if we can do this. We can at least catch something, and I don't think that they went for a Brave Bird in this scenario, and they went for the flame charge, so it's going to go to waste. And now it's going to be the dugong in the back, and I go for the weather ball here straight away because I don't want to get debuffed first. We will see that they're going to let this move go through, and I'm kind of forced to use a shield here. It's going to be still a very tough matchup for us, as we're going to see that they're not going to go for the bait, which is amazing for me, because like this, I do more damage with my fast move, which can come in clutch later on, as we now see that the opponent is already into the deep red health. This is going to be fine for me. I can take the drill run and I can try to go for the full farm down here. Can we do this? We can do this. And can we still reach the aerial ace? We can. And so we're going to be able to win this game, even though it was kind of a hard wall, but it's fine. Well, let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to encounter here Superior against Clodsire. Fairly neutral lead as the opponent decides to swap out into their Lickitung. I can go into my Vigoroth, and the opponent is going to have a really bad time now. Vigoroth is the hardest answer to the Lickitung, which is really good for us. As we're going to see here, we can just take those moves. We don't really care too much about them. Body Slam comes through totally fine for me, and I can just go ahead and go for more and more counters as the opponent goes for their own Body Slam, and I can just go for the full farm down now and have so much energy that the opponent decides to forfeit. Good game there. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to encounter a Pelipper in the lead. That's going to be also a trickier one for this team again, as you're going to be able to go for the aerial ace against the opponent, trying to bait here a potential frenzy plant, and it works out pretty well for me. Of course, they're going to try to, shield this move up. They're actually going to go for the Hurricane, which I did not expect, and I didn't even think there would be at the energy at this point. But I can still at least realign my Vigoroth. The opponent going to let this move go through. They're still going to get a shield from me, because if this is a Hurricane, this would do so much damage. But no, I'm actually going to no-shield the first one, but I have to shield the second one because it's just a weather ball. And we will see that we can go for the full farm down now, get a ton of energy, have at least some energy advantage, but it does not really help us too much against a Trevenant here. But they decide to stay in and now go into their Gallagher. This is still going to be a tricky one, because as you're going to see here, I can go for the weather ball, I'm gonna get the shield, but if I had overheat, I most likely still had a decent chance of winning this game. But a weather ball, even against a shadow variant of Gallagher, is just not doing enough damage to really threaten like the KO here, as we can see. And so we still have our Vigoroth. I can still knock out the opponent's Gallagher if I want to, and I can still try to farm them all the way down, but of course they're going to have still their Trevenant in the back lurking there, and again we kind of got a wall there, which is fine, as we can now move on into the next game. Well, let's see what we're going to encounter. Great lead for us in the lead here. We're going to encounter the Swampert, and they decide to swap out into the Registeel. Again, this is going to be a little bit less common in the Catch Cup, if it's even possible to get. I don't know, like, is it possible, theoretically? I'm not sure, actually, maybe, who knows? But we're going to be able to just have a great matchup here against the Registeel. I can go for the full farm down, and as we're going to see here, they're gonna go back into their Swampert. I can go for the Scorching Sands. This is going to do some decent damage against the opponent as well. Gonna put them close to half health, and I can swap out now into the Superior. Superior going to be able to take a hit for sure, and we will see the swap out into the Pidgeot in the back, which we can at least retaliate with our Vigoroth. And I just want to get some damage onto them. They're mostly going to shield every of my move, which is the smart idea here. And I decide to shield also their moves. If they go for the Brave Bird, this would be a little bit difficult for me, but they decide to go for the bait. And I don't really care about what they're going to go here, because I can just go for the Body Slam and outspam them, and I just need some damage on them. I just have to put them into range for one aerial ace, and as we can see here, the opponent is going to have to take this Body Slam before they can hit me with their charge move, and as I can let this move go through, it's just a Feather Dance, I decide to forfeit because this game is over. Well, let's move on to the final game of today's video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like. Also, stay tuned, should be streaming today, hopefully if everything goes to plan, with some spin the wheel action again. So here we're going to be able to go for the Frenzy Plant against the opponent's Gallagher. They are going to use a shield here, which is fine for me. I can swap out into my Vigoroth, and Vigoroth should be able to two-shot them with Body Slam after a little bit of counter damage, so we're going to be in a decent spot. They go for the dig, that's fine for me. I can still try to go for another Body Slam afterwards. I'm going to use a shield here, I'm okay with that. They're going to go for the aerial ace for sure, but I can overfarm by a little bit again, and I should put them into range where one Body Slam is enough to knock them out. Let's see here, it is, and we can realign our Pokemon, as this Lantern will not appreciate either the bulldoze or getting aligned against the superior again. So as long as you're gonna have a half decent matchup in the back, which we're going to have here with the Manibus, we're going to be kinda fine. Manibus is going to be a little bit of a trickier one, especially as I go for the foul play over the aerial ace, which I expected that they would go for. So I decided to no shield there first, but I can still reach the weather ball in time. I generate energy, I think at the same speed as the opponent, but I'm just a little bit more agile basically because I have a 2-turn fast move. And as you can see, I can still reach the weather ball just in time. This guy got the knockout against the opponent, and so we're going to be able to win this final game. And that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.